All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. It is so great to see everybody in the same room. We've been planning today's celebrations for several months today, and we are really excited for today's program, for the dances, and for the lunch later. But we wanted to pause and reflect on the AAPI month, a Heritage Month. This is the first anniversary of the formation of the Pennsylvania Legislative Asian Pacific American Caucus. I'm so proud to have my colleagues, Senator Nikhil Saval, Representatives Arvind Venkat and Tariq Khan as founding members of this caucus. They are all pioneers and history makers in their own rights, and their work and legislative priorities have benefited all Pennsylvanians. We are also able to get approval for a caucus executive director. We have Jojo Dalwadi. He's doing a phenomenal job, and we are grateful for his commitment. We want to thank leadership for seeing this as a priority for this caucus. Now, as we continue to build out this caucus and find our footing as a brand new caucus, we want to make sure your voices are heard in Pennsylvania and in this building. And we want to make sure that we listen and support marginalized communities and pass bills that positively impact the AAPI community. Now, we have a great example of what an impactful caucus looks like. We are honored to have Representative Napoleon Nelson of the Black Caucus. I just saw him. He's out in the back with his executive director, Abel Ash. They do so much for their caucus and for Pennsylvania, and we want to thank you for the example that you are leading for us. With that, I'd like to turn over to our MC, Jojo, who will, again, is the executive director of the AAPI caucus and who's done so much work for today. Jojo, let's take it over.
So thank you, everybody, again, for making the time to stop by over here on a Monday. And thank you for all the speakers. If you're in the House of Representatives, we really appreciate your support here, even though there is caucus business going on. And if you are not from the House of Representatives, specifically from Montgomery County, we thank you for making it all the way over here, as I'm sure your schedule is very busy as well. So the run of the show, we have this press conference happening with a few speakers, and then we have the privilege of watching Kirtana Santiana do one performance, and then Sanjana Menon do the other performance over in the East Wing Rotunda. And then we have a luncheon happening at 12 o'clock, which is Korean food. So it should be good.
For the Koreans, Pakistani.
Everything, AAPI, you know? All right, so with no further delay, I'm happy to introduce State Representative and our caucus Vice Chair, Arvind Venkat.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Arvind Venkat, and I have the privilege of serving as the state representative for the 30th Legislative District in Allegheny County in the North Hills suburbs of Pittsburgh. I joked when I was elected last year and under Patty's leadership that being the only state-level Asian American elected official west of Harrisburg, I get to talk about the western two-thirds of the state while everybody else talks about the eastern third of the state. But, you know, being a part of the AAPI community has been a profound part of my identity for my entire life. I was born in India, immigrated here when I was very young, at 3 months old. When I decided to run for office 2 years ago, my immigrant parents initially were like, "Why the heck are you doing this?" And I answered them is that in a democracy, we get the elected officials we deserve, and we need representation in all walks of life in our legislature. And initially, after their fears about running, about 4 months into this, they said, "Well, how are your polls looking?" I said, "Well, we'll see." But being a part of the legislature and joining under Representative Kim's leadership and joining my fellow AAPI colleagues has really been so much. And I think it's important to talk about an example of where we as an AAPI legislative caucus have been able to make a difference. I have the privilege of being the first Indian American elected to the state house, the second after Senator Saval in the legislature. And one of the initiatives was to allow state recognition of Diwali, the Hindu Festival of Lights. And we were very fortunate to be able to move that legislation forward in a nearly unanimous fashion in the House. And it was really from the visibility of the AAPI community. Later on, when my colleague Representative Khan brought forward recognition of Eid, it was a more divisive issue. But what really heartened me was that our legislative colleagues from across the entire state, across the entire political spectrum, came together to say this should not be a divisive issue. And it's really from the representation of the AAPI community and the diversity that we represent in our state. Being the fastest growing ethnic community in Pennsylvania and in the nation means that our voice needs to be heard. And as we spoke about today earlier, the need for our history, which is American history in its totality, to be taught in our schools is very important. So again, thank you all for being here today. I certainly understand, and I know my colleagues behind me understand as well, that in addition to representing our specific communities, we are meant to be a voice and a leader for the AAPI community, and it is very humbling to have that role. So thank you so much, and again, happy AAPI Heritage Month.
Our next speaker is Caucus Vice Chair and State Rep Tariq Khan.
Thanks, Jojo. Thank you all for being here. I am super honored to be speaking to you all today, and I'm honored to have been one of the first, with Arvind Venkat and myself, we're the first two representatives ever to have South Asian ancestry in the House of Representatives. Representative Venkat is the first Indian American state rep. I'm the first Pakistani American state rep in 340 years of the Commonwealth, and I think that's special. So, thank you. And I think, especially with some of these bills that we're supporting, I see signs for House Bill 779. I see our Vietnam veterans, Korean, supporting Senate Bill 773. 973. But these bills basically help to make our communities visible. And unfortunately, a lot of times when our communities are being visible or are being used, they're being used as targets. We see that with Asian hate. We see that in our schools. We see that, unfortunately, in our politics. And as a Pakistani American, as a legislator, I want to make sure that our community is seen and heard and feels respected. It's the reason why I was a co-sponsor on Representative Venkat's bill on Diwali. It's the reason why I introduced and Representative Venkat was a co-sponsor on the bill for Eid to make that a holiday. And it's the reason why it's so important for us to advocate to make sure that people are seeing why our communities should be celebrated. And it is important for students to learn about different cultures. It's not just that it's a good thing. It makes our culture better. It makes our society better. It makes our education better when things are more diverse. It's been my experience when we have more diversity, we have a richer and fuller experience. And our Asian American heritage, our Asian American residents and neighbors should be valued. They should be seen and heard. And so I'm so proud to be a part of this caucus that is doing everything that we can to make sure that Asian Americans are seen, respected, and heard. If you have input, please let us know. But it's some of those issues that I'm fighting for, and that are important to me as an Asian American. The last thing I'll say, my father, he came to the U.S. in 1964 at a time when we needed engineers in our society here in the U.S. And so they were welcoming engineers. And my father, he met my mom, who was from European ancestry, he's white. And I sort of grew up in this very diverse background. But my father's experience as an immigrant really taught me why. I think it really was that essential American story about someone who believed that if you fought, if you woke up early and you worked hard, good things could happen. It's why he really focused on education, and it's why not only myself, but Representative Venkat, Representative or Senator Saval have gone on, and we've gotten our doctorates because of that strong value, and to see the value of education, the value of healthcare, the value for fighting for our social safety net. It's what our Democratic caucus is doing, and it's what we're doing here with the AAPI caucus. So I'm really honored to be here with you all today. Thank you for supporting this event, and more good stuff to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair Khan. The next speaker is State Representative Steve Malagari.
Thanks, Jojo. And first off, I want to thank Chairwoman Kim for having this caucus come together along with our vice chairs as well. In addition to that, I would be remiss if I didn't announce that Jojo is a constituent of mine working in my district office. And I also have another constituent, a couple more constituents here actually. In the back, we have Councilwoman from Lansdale, Rafiya Razak, who is a district office director for Representative Melissa Serrato as well. So thank you for joining us as well. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be a part of this organization and also to be a part of the AAPI Heritage Month celebration today. So I am Representative Steve Malagari, represent the 53rd Legislative District in Montgomery County. It includes the communities of Lansdale and Hatfield, Souderton, Telford, a little bit of Franconia, and a little bit of Montgomery Township. And I want to thank the Pennsylvania Legislative Asian Pacific American Caucus for allowing me to actually be here to say a few words and to talk with you today during the celebration. A specific thanks goes out to our organizational chairs and also to Jojo again for doing a great job and putting this all together. So it's a truly honor to be here standing with you today. So a lot of you may not know this, but I am actually really lucky to have one of the most populated AAPI House districts in the Commonwealth. It's about 17% of my district is made up of individuals from the AAPI community. Growing up my whole life in the community that I represent and living in the same borough that I was born in, I've seen over the years just how much the impact of the AAPI community has played within our local businesses, within our nonprofit organizations, within our healthcare systems, also in our public school districts as well. And this year's theme of advancing leaders through innovations is telling of just how essential the AAPI community is within our Commonwealth. So when I was first elected, it was back in 2018, and I knew that my staff needed to represent the community that I served. So my first team consisted of 3 immigrants. One of which is here with us, Rafiya Razak, immigrant background from Bangladesh. The other 2, one was from England, one was from Germany. Both of them were not citizens at the time. Now we have 2 members of our team from the Indian community. One of them is Jojo, another one is Renuka Jamalpur, both of the Indian community that are now working in our district office and working to represent the community members. We also have volunteers. One of them is Mr. Kim from the Korean community who's sitting with us along with his fellow Korean Vietnam War veterans. So thank you very much for your service. For those of you who don't know, they served along with American troops in Vietnam. Thank you for your help in that fight. So I know that whenever there's something that important that needs to be done in our district office, I know I can count on my staff to make sure it gets done. Not only do we have representation within racial demographic, but also within language capability, and that's really important. That was a big thing that we stressed very early on, and I continue to do so. So we have thousands of members in our district from the Indian community, thousands from the Bangladeshi community, thousands from the Korean community. That is just a little bit. We also have some from the Vietnamese community and also from the Chinese community and Japanese community as well, and many, many others. And it's my job as a legislator to make sure that each and every one of them feels represented and that their voice is heard, that they feel welcome, that they feel at home, and they also feel represented by me as their state representative. So during holidays, I cherish the moments that we have. I get to spend with my fellow constituents at the local mosque to join in the Muslim community celebrations for iftar, also for any of the Eid holidays. In addition to that, I cherish the Hindu community's invitation to the Diwali celebrations and also to the community's invitation for the Lunar New Year celebrations that we have within, and Chuseok for the Korean community as well with their Thanksgiving celebration. So it's an honor and a privilege to really serve such a diverse community and a diverse population every single day as state representative. And I want to always make sure that the members of the AAPI community know that they are being represented well as long as I'll be there for them. I want to make sure that people understand that. And not just here in the district that I represent, but also here for the entirety of the Commonwealth too. It's important to know that you have legislators working that are represented behind me and out in the audience today that are working to represent the interests of the AAPI community and make sure that the individuals that they have back home feel heard and have a voice out here as well. So I want to thank you for your time. I thank you for allowing me to speak with you a little bit today, and happy AAPI Heritage Month. And I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of the Governor's Advisory Commission on AAPI Affairs, Razin Karu.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Representative Malagari, for the introduction. Thank you so much, Representative Kim, Chairman Kim, for arranging this wonderful event. My name is Razin Karu, and I am the Executive Director for the Governor's Advisory Commission on AAPI Affairs. Prior to this, I was with State Representative Perry Warren's office. I see my colleague Ryan over here with me. Hi, Ryan. A lot of times I get asked this question, what exactly is the AAPI Commission and what does it do? The Governor's AAPI Commission serves as a bridge, as a conduit between the AAPI community and the administration. And we are committed to working with our legislators, with our community organizations and leaders like yourself to make sure we bring the issues to the table and come up with solutions for issues that are impacting the AAPI community, whether especially when it comes to education, healthcare, preventing AAPI hate and discrimination, and ensuring AAPI businesses also have the same kind of access all other businesses do. Again, I'm so happy to be in this position serving in the administration, and if there's anything that I could do for any one of you over here, please feel free to reach out to me. And I'm very glad that we have this gathering today. And the next person is a very special person, and that is going to be Montgomery County Commissioner Neil Makhija. Neil Makhija is someone who I feel does not need any introduction, a former law professor at University of Pennsylvania, as well as the former CEO and now the president of Indian American Impact, and the first Indian American elected as a county commissioner in the state of Pennsylvania, the third largest county, the Montgomery County in Pennsylvania. Neil Makhija, please.
There's a lot of special people up here. But I just want to start. Thank you, Chairwoman Kim, for your extraordinary leadership and being a trailblazer who led the way for all of us. Please, let's give her a round of applause. And, you know, it was just a few years ago where we had literally no Asian Americans in the state legislature, and since Representative Kim and now Representative Khan and Venkat just a couple of years ago, collectively, I think we determined we represent more than 2.5 million people in the Commonwealth in terms of Asian American electeds. And just, you know, what was the year you were first elected? It was 2013, and before that, there were none, right? So we've come a long way, and it's incredibly important for us to recognize what that means, not just for our communities, but for Pennsylvania as a whole. So I just want to also let me give a shout out to my friends in Monco. Representative Nelson is here. Please thank him for joining us today. And Representative Maligari, of course. It was great to see him yesterday at the Bharatiya Temple, where we were celebrating groundbreaking of a new community center that's going to be really important for everyone there. So my name's Neil Makija, so I am very proud to be serving now. I'm 5 months in as Montgomery County Commissioner. As Razine mentioned, it's the third largest county in the Commonwealth. And one thing that people don't know is that it actually has the highest AAPI population, up to 9%. The highest population in the Commonwealth is in Montgomery County. And when I was first running, and I liked hearing Dr. Venkat's comments from his parents, I very much commiserate with that. My dad said to me, "Why can't you just be normal?" Like that was his take. And I think all of us relate with this, a little bit of a conflict, you could call it, but this relationship with the first generation in many ways, where public service and leadership in the public sector was not at all something that they could consider. And in fact, it's not just a cultural barrier. I think what's important about Asian American history is to understand that it was a reflection of the law. So the reason that my parents were able to immigrate was because, perhaps similar to Dr. Khan, is that they wouldn't let us in the country unless we filled a specific role, whether it be in healthcare or medicine or another field. And so that was the path to success, and deviating from that wasn't an option for many in prior generations. And one of the things, particularly this year and last year, that I think is important to recognize in Asian American history is that it was only 100 years ago that Asian Americans as a whole, in 2 cases of the U.S. Supreme Court, were stripped of their citizenship. So we didn't have the right to vote. We didn't have the right to run for office. And it wasn't until the moment of civil rights in the 60s, when much of the language of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act was adopted in the immigration reforms that happened, that exclusionary laws that kept us out of the country were actually repealed. So that's the reason that many of us are here today, and that's the reason that many of us are in these leadership positions for the very first time, because we saw a wave of immigration following the Civil Rights Act and the immigration reform that followed, and we are now at that second generation where we have a chance to live out the American dream in full and are not confined by the immigration policies prior. So this is a very special moment, and what I think is incredibly important for everyone to know is that when we're up here in elected office, we're not just seeking to serve ourselves, as you all know. When I think about the leadership of Senator Saval, who is not here with us today, but many people have recognized, passed, and really conceived of an extraordinary piece of climate and housing legislation, whole home repairs. That's serving people across the Commonwealth, no matter what their background is. When I think about the leadership on medical debt that Dr. Venkat and many of his colleagues in the State House are leading on, that's going to serve many people across this Commonwealth. But it wasn't until we tapped into the talent of the Asian American community that we saw tremendous progress on these issues. So it's an important lesson that when we talk about representation and getting more people in public office, and when we talk about inclusion, it's not just for the sake of our own group. It's for the sake of the public at large and the Commonwealth, and we're able to serve in a full capacity when we tap into the talent of every community. Finally, I just want to thank Rep. Kim for House Bill 779, because by telling these stories, we will be able to inspire the next generation to think about how we got here, and when we realize what it took, the movements for civil rights, for immigration reform, and what we now see as a result, and the tremendous progress that we all benefit from, we'll know what our path is going forward and what kinds of principles we need to commit ourselves to. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Makija. It is now an honor of mine to introduce our next speaker, Representative Ismail Smith Wade L.
I hope nobody caught that I very briefly clapped for myself there before I recognized what was happening. Actually, if Cindy and Adam would be so kind as to join me up here very quickly from the Lancaster AAPI group. One of the things that we love to do in Pennsylvania Dutch country is surprise people with our diversity. So, yeah, just come hang out for a sec. I'll do my little thing on my feet here, and then, we've got a citation to give you. It's really...
And Donna.
Oh, Donna, oh my gosh, hi!
Surprise.
So sorry. I'm a member of the Education Committee, and women's sports is having a really big moment right now, right? We're all tracking that. I'm a big basketball fan, kind of from the cradle, and you're kind of like, what the heck is he talking about? But actually, I walked in here and I saw printed on the poster to my left the photo of one of my personal heroes, Congresswoman Patsy T. Mink, who does not get enough credit for this, but is largely responsible for the Title IX Equal Opportunity in Education amendments. And so what we are enjoying, I am feeling like a renaissance in athletics, is because of Asian American electeds in this country. Could our Asian American electeds in the room real quick raise their hands? Everybody? Yeah, thank you. Give them a round of applause. I have the fortune of serving as secretary of the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus, and attending these events always feels like an opportunity to return the favor of solidarity. Chairwoman Kim, Representatives Khan and Venkat are both also members of the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus, and I think we go farther together. So I appreciate your solidarity. I appreciate you, Representative Malagary, for being here. And now I get the opportunity to shout out some of my favorite folks from Lancaster City, which I represent. A couple of years ago, we were not really aware of the amount of power, intellect, and creativity that we had in the Asian American Pacific Islander community in Lancaster. And that was on us, but the Lancaster AAPI group has done a fantastic job, not only of representing themselves, but of upgrading our entire community in political advocacy, in education, in culture and recreation. So it's my honor I'm not going to read down the whole citation, but it's really my honor to present you with this official recognition from the House of Representatives. And also to say thank you as my personal friends, each of you. We have a really incredible thing going in Lancaster, and it is in no small part because of you. So. You want to hear that's in the green shirt, that's Nate with the camera. We're going to look at them. Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, JoJo.
Sure. Thank you. Just a quick thank you. We're so grateful to have received this recognition from representatives. Thank you so much. Thank you. Lancaster AAPI formed less than 2 years ago, and we have grown to over 300 members. We've grown so much in such a short amount of time. We organized the first ever public-facing Lunar New Year in the city, held public events that showcase and educate others about our culture, show unity through partnerships with other community groups, and most recently launched a scholarship program for youth outreach with high school seniors in the AAPI community in Lancaster County. And one person did not do all of these things alone. Lancaster AAPI has an all-star team consisting of business owners, community leaders, activists, educators, all forging something in Lancaster for the future generation. And I just want to give a shout out to some of our officers. One of our vice presidents here, Donna Pham, and our advocacy chair, Adam Hosey. We also have Julia Cow, Liza, Libby Etheridge, Brian Nguyen, Laura Wu, and Olay. And these are all of our officers at Lancaster AAPI. Thank you to everyone who put in the hard work. This work never stops, and we will continue to build a presence in Lancaster County, and we will continue to advocate for our community and celebrate our community. Thank you so much.
Could I have Harrisburg's AAPI group please join me on stage, please? Stan, you're not getting away. Please come up to the stage. I have the honor today to present a citation of appreciation to all members, to the Harrisburg AAPI. Mr. Richard Choi, please come up to the stage. So they called themselves HAPPY, H, and then AAPI group, founded by Tiffany Chang Lawson and Alan Min in 2021. They came together to mourn and reflect on the Atlanta spa shootings that targeted Asian American women. The two-person group quickly grew as members saw the benefits of a safe space to build a community where all cultures and backgrounds were welcome and celebrated. Fast forward, HAPPY organizes weekly events and finds ways to support the community in important holidays like Juneteenth Day and Iftar during Ramadan. Most recently, HAPPY embarked on a major project called Portraits of an Identity, Stories Through the Lenses. They raised funds to share local AAPI stories in a creative and artful way, led by Alan Min, local photographer Stan Hartman, and Halston Yee. The collection of portraits and stories were featured in the local magazine called the Berg Magazine and is currently on exhibit at the Susquehanna Art Museum. On behalf of the House of Representatives and the AAPI Caucus, we want to thank and congratulate the leaders and members of HAPPY. Your tireless work to make positive connections and raise awareness of our diversity is making a positive difference throughout Pennsylvania. Congratulations, and continue on to your hard work.
Thank you so much for this honor and recognition, and we are all very honored to be here. My name is Ellen Min. I'm the co-founder and chair of HAPPY, and I just want to tell a little story of how HAPPY was created. Unfortunately, on March 16th, 2021, the Atlanta spa murders happened, and during that time of grief, I received 2 phone calls, one of which was from Patty Kim and saying, "We are grieving, I am grieving, but then I'm also recognizing that we need to act and we need a space. There might be a very limited amount of time where people will care, and so we have to do something for our community. What should we do?" And so, thinking about it, Tiffany Chang Lawson then called me and said, "I need a friend and I need to grieve." And so in the midst of COVID, she and I sat outside, our masks on, and we cried and we held each other and we said, "What can we do?" And Maxine Hong Kingston said, "From a time of destruction, create something." And so we thought we have to create a community because we needed it so badly and it didn't exist. And so we said, HAPPY, okay, Harrisburg AAPI, where we're going to bring community, belonging, and joy for those who so desperately need it, including us. And so we thought maybe 2 people would show up. So we reached out to Diane Crawford, who is a member of our AAPI community, being Black and Japanese. And she said, "I will give you a space." And so we thought maybe the 2 of us will be at Crawdaddy's every month. But more and more people came and said how much they needed this space for themselves. And we realized, what do we do about the 339% rise in anti-Asian hate crimes? And seeing that play out not only for ourselves, but our community members, our families, our neighbors, our friends. And we said, in addition to a community for us, we have to create visibility. Because if you don't tell your own story, if we don't tell our stories, somebody else will tell it for us. And so we said, let's get a hold of that narrative and get rid of all of the harmful narratives that exist around our community. And let's fight for that. And so we did. And so with visibility, we put on a Lunar New Year celebration as well, our very first one. We put on AAPI Heritage Month events in the community that we didn't see and we wanted for ourselves. And we continue the work of spreading that awareness to make sure that we have a voice. And we thank you for that voice that you provide for our communities each and every day. And so this is an honor, but it's such an honor to have this group and all the people who work to make visibility happen. And happy AAPI Heritage Month.
One picture, Nate, Mr. Nathan, can we take one picture and then we'll close out. I'm hungry, so I want to go to lunch.
All right, guys, ready? 1, 2, 3. All good.
Thank you.
Also, just want to give a quick shout out to the Worry Center over here with us from Montgomery County. And also, Governor Shapiro's Secretary of Policy and Planning was here briefly with us, Akbar Hussain. He was standing over there in the back. Happy to have him here for a short while as well. So that wraps up the speaking portion of the event. And now we will move to the East Wing Rotunda, where we can view the two aforementioned dance performances, followed by food. But I also want to make sure that everybody realizes that these posters over here, there are 8 more individuals in the East Wing Rotunda. And the whole logic with that, with this year's theme of advancing leaders through innovation, is that these are all individuals who have made and been a part of American history and AAPI history within their own individual workplaces and fields, but unfortunately, they never made the front cover of the era they were in, and as a result, we don't learn about them in our education system. So when you're out there in the East Wing Rotunda, just make sure you could take a quick little glance at those posters, because 1, a lot of work went into them, and 2, they're really incredible individuals, and learning about them should hopefully leave you inspired. So thank you again.
We have Akbar Hussain in the back. Thank you so much for being here with us. And then I would like staff members who are in the AAPI category to come up for a picture as well. We like to show representation that you don't have to be an elected official. We need staff members to really make this government work. So folks, come on up and we're going to take a group picture with electeds. Thank you, everyone.